Linda was a young, beautiful, and very rich lady. Her father, Senator Joshua, was one of the most powerful and respected men in the country. He was not just a senator, but also a billionaire who owned one of the biggest companies called Joshua Group. The company had branches all over the world, in America, London, Dubai, China, and many other places. He was also into oil and shipping. Everyone in the country knew the name Senator Joshua. Sadly, Senator Joshua lost his wife when Linda was just 12 years old. From that day, Linda became his only source of joy and comfort. She was his only child, and he made sure she never lacked anything. As Linda grew older, she became more beautiful, confident, and intelligent. People admired her everywhere she went. But she missed her mother, and she always wished she had someone to love her the way her father loved her mother. One night, while Linda was in her big, fancy room using her laptop and phone, she got a call from her father asking her to come to his room. When she entered, she saw him sitting quietly on his chair, looking serious. She became a little worried and asked, "Daddy, is everything okay?" Senator Joshua smiled softly and said, "Yes, my daughter, everything is fine. Please sit down. There is something very important I need to talk to you about." Linda sat down beside him, and he took her hand gently. "Linda," he began, "you are all I have in this world. You know I'm getting old now. I have built this company for many years, and it has grown so much. I've thought about it, and I think it's time for me to retire. In the next 2 weeks, my lawyer and all my business partners will gather here. That day, I will officially hand over all my companies and businesses to you. You will become the head of Joshua Group." Linda gasped. He nodded and smiled. "Yes, my dear. You have been responsible and hard-working. But—" he paused and sighed. "I am worried about one thing." "What is it, Daddy?" she asked. "I worry that it will be too hard for you to handle all of this alone," he said slowly. "Managing a business empire is not easy. I thought by now you would have found a good man to marry. 2 heads are better than 1. You need a husband who can assist you." Linda stayed silent for a moment. She didn't know what to say. Then she smiled a little and said, "Daddy, don't worry. I will find someone." Her father nodded, looking hopeful. "Good, my daughter. I know you will." That night, when Linda went back to her room, she couldn't sleep. She lay on her bed, staring at the ceiling and thinking deeply. She really had to make a choice soon. There were a few men in her life, but she didn't know which of them truly loved her. First, there was her ex-boyfriend, Michael. They had broken up 2 years ago, but they still talked sometimes. Michael was handsome, smart, and from a good family. He had a business abroad and was doing well, but he was not as rich as her. Their relationship ended because of distance and too many misunderstandings. But sometimes she still missed him. Then there was her current boyfriend, Kelvin. He was caring, kind, and always there for her. He remembered her birthdays, surprised her with gifts, and made her laugh. He wasn't rich, but he was not poor either. Just an average man who worked hard for what he had. Linda liked him because he treated her like a normal person, not like a billionaire's daughter. But there were 2 other men in her life who also meant something to her. People she didn't expect to ever consider in that way. Her driver, Samuel, had been with her for years. He was always loyal, quiet, and respectful. Whenever she was sad or tired, Samuel always knew how to cheer her up. He listened to her when she needed to talk and never judged her. Sometimes she told him things she couldn't even tell her friends. He was like her secret friend, her comforter in quiet times. And then there was the gate man, Musa. He was older, humble and strong. He was more than just a gate man. He was like part of the family. Whenever there was trouble, Musa was always the first to defend her. He had once even stopped a thief from breaking into her car, and since that day, Linda respected him deeply. She often gave him money, clothes, and gifts, and he always prayed for her in return. That night, Linda sat by her window, looking at the stars. "It's such a hard choice," she whispered. "Daddy wants me to find someone soon, but I honestly don't know who to choose." Her heart was heavy. For the first time in her life, all the money and luxury she had didn't make her happy. She felt confused and scared. She wanted love, real love, not money, not gifts, not fake smiles. Linda sighed, closed her eyes, and said a silent prayer. "God, please show me the right person. I don't want to make a mistake." Linda couldn't sleep that night. She turned on her soft bed, staring at the ceiling and thinking deeply. Her father's words kept echoing in her mind. "You need a husband who can assist you. But how do I even know who truly loves me?" Then an idea suddenly came to her mind. She quickly picked up her phone and scrolled through her contacts until she found a number. The Inspector General of Police, a longtime business associate of her father. She knew him as a strict but loyal man who respected her family greatly. She took a deep breath and called him. "Good evening, sir," she said in a calm but serious voice. "Ah, Linda, the senator's jewel," the man said, laughing softly. "It's been a while. How are you?" "I'm fine, sir," she replied. "But I need a special kind of help from you." "What kind of help?" he asked curiously. "I want you to spy on 4 people for me," she said quickly, before she could change her mind. "My ex-boyfriend, my current boyfriend, my driver, and my gateman. I want to know everything they do for 1 week. Where they go, what they spend money on, what they say. Everything. I want the truth." The man was silent for a moment before saying, "Linda, that's not really part of my job. I handle police work, not spying on people's private lives." But Linda's voice was firm. "Please, sir. I know it's strange, but I will pay you anything. You can hire trusted men for it. I just want to know who is real to me." After a long pause, the man said, "All right. Send me their names, photos, and where to begin. I'll handle the rest." "Thank you, sir," Linda said with relief. She sent him the details immediately. Her ex-boyfriend Michael, her boyfriend Kelvin, her driver Samuel, and her gateman Musa. The next morning she called her driver Samuel and told him, "Samuel, take me to the office. I forgot to pick something yesterday." "Yes, Ma," he said as he started the car. She then opened her bag and brought out an open check already signed with her name. She handed it to him and said, "Samuel, I once heard you talking on the phone that you needed money urgently. Please take this check. It has no limit. Use it for 1 week. Buy anything you want, solve your problems, travel, anything. No restrictions." Samuel's eyes widened. "Madam, this is too much. Are you sure?" Linda nodded. "Yes, Samuel. You've been loyal to me. You deserve it." He bowed his head, looking grateful and confused at the same time. "Thank you, madam," he said quietly. Later that evening, when Linda returned home, Musa the gateman quickly ran to open the gate as usual. "Welcome, madam." "My beautiful madam." Linda laughed and said, "Thank you, Musa." She opened her purse and as usual, he expected her to give him some cash. But instead, she brought out another open check. "Musa," she said gently, "this is for you. You've been so loyal and protective. Use it for anything you want this week. No limits." Musa's mouth opened wide. "Ah, madam, do you know what you're saying? This check can build me a mansion." Linda smiled and said, "Yes, I know. Just take it. You deserve it." He fell on his knees, blessing her in his local language, and she walked inside, smiling but with a heavy heart. That night, she had a call with her ex-boyfriend Michael, who told her that he had just returned to the country. She smiled and replied, "Wow! You're back? Then let's meet tomorrow at Golden Crown Restaurant." "It's been so long," Michael laughed and said, "Are you sure, Miss Billionaire? People will talk if they see us together." Linda giggled. "Let them talk. I don't care." The next evening, Michael looked as handsome as ever, dressed in a fine black suit. They talked and laughed for hours, remembering old times. Before they left, Linda looked into his eyes and said, "Michael, I wanted to give you something a long time ago, but never had the chance." She pulled out an open check and gave it to him. "This is for you. Use it for whatever you want for the next 1 week. No restrictions?" Michael blinked in surprise. "Linda, are you serious? This could buy a car." She nodded and smiled. "I know. It's just a gift." He pecked her lightly on the cheek and said, "You're still as kind as ever." Then he left. That night, Linda's boyfriend Kelvin called her. "Hey, baby," he said. "I forgot something at your place. Can I come get it?" Linda hesitated but said yes. When he came, he looked at her and said, "You've been acting worried since yesterday. What's wrong?" She smiled. "I'm fine, Kelvin. Don't worry." As he was about to leave, she held his hand and said softly, "Wait." She handed him another open check. "You've been so supportive. This is a small gift for you." Kelvin looked shocked but happy. "Linda, you're an angel," he said, kissing her cheek before leaving. After he left, Linda took her phone and called the IG of police. "Sir," she said calmly, "I've given all of them the open checks. The work can begin." "Understood," the man replied. Linda smiled to herself as she ended the call. For the first time in days, she felt calm. "Now I'll know who truly loves me," she whispered, lying back on her bed. The next morning, she woke up to the sound of her laptop buzzing. It was an email from the IG of police. She rubbed her eyes and sat up. "Already," she muttered. She smiled a little and said, "Let me take my bath and eat first, then I'll check everything properly." She called her office and said, "Hello, tell everyone I won't be coming in for 1 week. I have something important to handle." After breakfast, she opened her laptop, her heart beating fast. "Let's see," she said softly, clicking the first report. Linda's eyes widened as she opened the first report on her laptop. She could hardly believe what she was seeing. Her ex-boyfriend, Michael, in just one night, had already booked a first-class ticket to Dubai. She scrolled further and saw receipts from luxury shops, expensive designer clothes, gold wristwatches, and even perfumes worth hundreds of thousands. He had also paid for one of the most luxurious hotels in Dubai and was planning to travel soon. Linda gasped and placed her hand on her chest. 5 million naira in one night, she whispered in shock. "Michael, how could you?" She shook her head slowly in disappointment. Her heart felt heavy as she clicked on the second file, which contained the report of her current boyfriend, Kelvin. At first, she hoped he would make her proud. But as the video loaded, her face changed again. There he was, in a shiny black outfit, dancing and laughing in one of the most expensive clubs in town. He had attended a celebrity party that night, surrounded by famous singers and actors. Linda watched as he stood up. He called the waiter and began buying bottles of the most expensive drinks. He was shouting, Give everyone a drink. I'm paying for everything tonight." The crowd cheered for him. Some of the celebrities even took selfies with him, and he proudly posed like a superstar. He posted videos on social media saying things like, "We outside tonight." Big man things. Linda covered her mouth in disbelief. "Oh no, Kelvin," she murmured sadly. "The man I trusted the most. The one I thought would be different." She shook her head again, feeling her eyes burn with tears. After a few seconds, she wiped her face and clicked on the third file. Her driver, Samuel. The footage showed him in his village, surrounded by people. He was smiling proudly and giving instructions to builders. Trucks of cement, blocks, and sand were entering a large piece of land he had just bought. The villagers were praising him, calling him Chief Samuel the Big Boy. They sang and danced around him. He had already begun developing a large estate with several buildings, including what he called the biggest mansion in the community. Linda sighed deeply. "Samuel too," she whispered. "I gave you that check as a gift from my heart, not to make you proud or show off." She shook her head again, her heart sinking further. Finally, she clicked on the last footage, her gateman, Musa. She expected to see another shocking video, maybe of him wasting money too. But what she saw instead made her sit up straight. Musa wasn't spending the money carelessly. Instead, he was sitting under a big tree with a group of people. He had a small table with a notebook and some papers. People came to him one by one, and he gave them money. But they signed something before collecting it. Linda frowned at first, wondering what was going on. Then she realized what he was doing. Musa was lending money to people who needed help and collecting it back with an interest. He had turned her gift into a business. She leaned back in her chair, a small smile forming on her face. "So, at least one person used the money wisely," she whispered proudly. The next few days, more reports came in. Michael had already traveled to Dubai and was living a luxurious life, taking pictures in front of tall buildings, eating in fancy restaurants, and posting everything online. Kelvin continued to party every night with celebrities, enjoying the attention. Samuel kept on buying lands and paying builders, turning himself into a village hero. But Musa, the simple gate man, stayed humble. He wore the same simple clothes, went to work every day, and still opened the gate for Linda with his usual cheerful smile. A week later, Linda sat quietly in her father's office. Senator Joshua entered and saw the sadness in her eyes. "My daughter," he said softly, "what is wrong? You look troubled." Linda forced a smile and replied, "Nothing, Daddy. I'm fine. Just a little tired." But her father could sense something was bothering her. That evening she told him everything. About the open checks, about how she had given them to the 4 men, and how she had asked the IG of police to watch them. Her father listened quietly, nodding slowly. When she was done, he smiled and said, "You are wise, my daughter. Now we know who truly loves you for who you are, and not for your money." The next day, he sent a message to all 4 men, Michael, Kelvin, Samuel, and Musa. The message read, "You are invited to a special private party this Saturday at my residence. Attendance is very important." They were all shocked. Michael was still in Dubai, but he immediately booked a flight back, wondering what the senator wanted. Kelvin cancelled all his outings and called Linda several times, but she didn't answer. Samuel was nervous but excited, thinking maybe he was about to be promoted. And Musa just bowed his head and prayed, "God, let your will be done." When Saturday came, The 4 men arrived one after the other, each dressed in their best clothes. But when they entered the senator's large sitting room, they were surprised. There was no big party, no music, no crowd. Only a long table and few elders seated at the table. Then Senator Joshua and his beautiful daughter Linda walked in and sat down. The room was quiet. The men exchanged confused glances as they sat down. Then the senator cleared his throat and said, "Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for coming. 1 week ago, my daughter gave each of you a special gift. You all thought it was just money, but it was more than that. It was a test of loyalty, a test of love, and a test of character." The men looked at each other in shock. Michael spoke first, stammering, "Sir, we didn't know it was a test." The senator smiled slightly. "Yes, I know. That's why it worked. My daughter wanted to see who among you truly loves her for who she is, not for what she has." Kelvin swallowed hard. Samuel lowered his eyes, but Musa looked calm. Then Senator Joshua leaned forward and said, "Today we will know who truly deserves her heart." Everyone was nervous, wondering who the senator would talk to first. He adjusted his glasses, looked at them one after another, and finally said, "Let me start in order." He pointed at Michael, Linda's ex-boyfriend. "My daughter thought of having a future with you again. She believed you had changed and truly loved her." Michael swallowed hard. "But no," the senator continued, shaking his head. "See what you did with just a small portion of the fortune. You were given an opportunity, but you wasted it. You ran to Dubai, spent millions on first-class tickets, luxurious hotels, and clothes you didn't even need. You saw a small part of my wealth and acted like you owned the whole world. You achieved nothing useful with it." Michael tried to talk. "Sir, it's not." But Senator Joshua raised his hand. "No, young man. This is not a debate. I am not here for excuses." The room went quiet again. The senator then turned his eyes to the next person. "Kelvin," he said firmly, "my daughter trusted you deeply. She thought you were different. But you chose to go about with celebrities, showing off and buying drinks for them as if that was an achievement. You forgot what true success means. She thought you would use that money to grow your business. But instead, you wasted it trying to look like a big man. You failed the test." Kelvin bowed his head in shame. The elders nodded quietly. Then, the senator looked at Samuel, Linda's current driver. "And you," he said, "my daughter thought you had sense and that you wanted to live a modest life. But now she can see clearly that you were not different. You went about buying lands and building houses all over your village and neighboring towns. Not because you needed them, but because you wanted people to call you a big boy." He then turned his gaze to Musa, the gateman. A little smile crossed his lips. "Now, Musa," he said, "my daughter thought you were the perfect one. She was impressed that you were lending money to people instead of wasting it. She told me you were helping others." Musa smiled proudly and raised his head. But the senator suddenly laughed and said, "Thank you, Musa, for being so greedy." Musa's smile faded. "Sir, The senator raised his hand again. "You loaned money to poor people with an interest rate of 80%. Even banks do not charge such. You were not helping anyone. You were taking advantage of their suffering. That is not kindness. That is greed." Musa looked down, ashamed. Senator Joshua continued, "Now, everyone here thinks Samuel is the worst because he was buying lands and building houses. But my daughter did more research and found something surprising. She discovered that Samuel was actually setting up a real estate business in his family's name. He wasn't just building for show. He was helping his people. He reduced the cost of rent, made houses affordable, and invited foreign investors to develop his village. What was once an abandoned place has now become a busy, growing community. Everyone gasped. Samuel slowly raised his head, surprised that his effort was noticed. The senator smiled proudly. "Now that," he said, "is what I call wisdom." He looked around the room and said, "Each of you claimed to love my daughter. You told her sweet words, but this was a test to know who truly loved her and who only loved her money." He paused, then smiled and said loudly, "From this day forward, I am handing over my business empire to my daughter and the one who truly deserves it, Samuel." The room erupted in noise. Some were shocked, some clapped, some just looked at each other in disbelief. Samuel was too stunned to move. His heart was beating fast. He couldn't believe it. The senator stood up and walked toward him. "Samuel," he said warmly, "you have proven that you have a vision, not just for yourself, but for others. You know how to use wealth wisely. You are the kind of man I want beside my daughter." Linda stood up, tears of joy filling her eyes. She walked over to Samuel and hugged him tightly. Everyone smiled as they watched the scene. "I said yes to you before in my heart," she whispered, smiling. "Now I say it again." The senator nodded. "Let this be a lesson to everyone here," he said, turning to the others. "When life blesses you, don't use what you have to boast. Use it to bless others." From that day, Samuel began working side by side with Senator Joshua and Linda. Together, they built a new business empire that focused not only on making profits, but on helping others live better lives. Samuel's real estate projects spread across towns, and many poor families could now afford decent homes. Samuel and Linda finally got married, and 2 years later, they had a beautiful baby boy who brought joy to their home. Their story spread across the city and villages. People told the story of how a simple test of money revealed a man's true heart. Whenever people talked about love and wisdom, they remembered Samuel and Linda, the couple who turned wealth into kindness.